All right, hello again, everybody. Today I'm going to do another kind of, well, obviously a video on my own. As you can see, I'm on my own. And it's going to be another one of the kind of messages from Spirit. Today we're going to talk about why we choose our lives, how that works on the other side, and kind of why would we choose our lives, especially lives of suffering. I'm always more nervous when it's just me, so bear with me. So if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I'll just quickly go into what my gifts are and what I do. So I'm a medium, which means I can connect with people who have crossed over. I'm an empath, but times a million, so Spirit can make me see, feel, hear, and sense things that other people can't. I can also feel all of the feelings of everybody around me. I'm also what I call spiritually intuitive. Others would say a psychic. Because there's no sense of time or space on the other side, Spirit can provide guidance or show me memories of the past if they're going to mean something to the person with me. I'm also a medical intuitive, although I'm much more cautious with that just because I feel like it's so concrete and I would never want to make anyone worry. And even with what I do, well, especially with what I do, there is a margin for error. Spirit, every time I says that, reminds me I have yet to be wrong about kind of a medical thing just because I am so cautious, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. I'm also kind of developing my healing abilities, but I really do kind of save that for family and friends, just because, number one, I don't have time for a lot of other stuff, and it does take a lot more energy than just doing a reading does. So I'm in my house right now. You'll notice as I'm talking, I might look kind of off camera to the side. My guides, I let them kind of stand on the side of the room. So if I need clarification about something or if they're telling me something and I don't quite understand it, you'll notice I kind of look off to the side. I don't know that well, maybe I have explained that in a video. So I kind of put it out there, two different ideas for this video. One was why we would choose this, and the other is kind of an energetic look to your day. So maybe that will be the next one I do, but it seemed like more people wanted to hear about this. So let's kind of start from the beginning. I think the big question is why? You know, some people might not think this if their lives are really good and really easy, but why would we choose? Why would anyone choose a life where they are left to suffer, or where things are really hard, or they lose their loved ones? Maybe they're born in kind of a war-torn country, they die in some mass tragedy, all of these things that we as humans really see as horrific things. Why would we ever choose that? You know, I think it's hard for people to understand that part of what I talk about just for that reason, because especially for children, like why would a child ever choose suffering? I think you kind of have to go back to a place where you think they weren't a child when they chose it. They were their higher self on the other side. They were perfect on the other side, and they planned this life. So let's kind of start there. So before we come into each life, we're living multitudes of lives at once, but before we come into each one, I see it kind of as a buffet. I think Spirit did it that way just so that it would make sense to me. So you take your buffet plate and you go along this buffet line with kind of your guides, maybe a couple extra people helping you, and you go, okay, I want a little bit of this, a little bit of that, ooh, lots of this, a little bit of that, a little bit, and you get to the end of the buffet, and there's a guide there that helps plan lives that goes, ooh, you know, maybe you don't have enough of this, like I don't think that's, you need a little more, or maybe you have too much of something, so put a little bit back. It's not as simple as that, but that's just kind of a human way of explaining it. So you go, you get to the end of the buffet, you've got your plate, you're ready to live your life. On that plate, there's kind of main themes of what we want to live, a few, or what we want to learn when we live each life. Some of them are caregiving, humility, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. There's quite a few, you know. Maybe we do want to learn suffering. Maybe we want to learn forgiveness or patience. There we go. Thank you, guys. You know, there's quite a few themes. So usually we'll kind of say we want to learn patience. We won't just be born into this life being patient. We will be presented with hundreds, if not thousands, of opportunities to practice patience. So, sorry. Okay, they really want me to go through it step by step. I'm kind of flitting around, I think. So you get to the end of the buffet, you've got your plate, you're ready to live your life. And then you go into your life. So on the other side, you really do plan out, you don't plan out like every minute of every day, but you do plan out the themes of your life, what is going to happen, the choices you can possibly make, the directions you could possibly choose, and the lessons that you will learn going those different directions. this life that you're living right now also kind of interacts and intertwines with your other lives. So maybe while you're living this life, another life is planned and decides, you know what, you went into your life with a bit too much on your buffet plate, let me take a little bit of that. And they decide to learn one of the lessons in one of those lives. Then you no longer need that lesson, so your life path might change a little bit. I think it's hard for us as humans to understand how much our higher self on the other side and all of our other lives affect the one we are living right now. I think it's also hard to understand that we would ever plan a life where we are in pain or where we suffer. But that's kind of the point of being human. On the other side, there is no bad or hate or anger or sadness. There's just love. And it's very hard to become a very balanced and enlightened soul if you don't understand any of those things or you haven't lived them or learned them. So we do really come to this life to learn. And we might look at somebody else's, I, before this, was a social worker. And somebody might look at that profession and go, oh God, I would never want to do that. Why would anybody want to be a social worker? I would be so exhausted all the time. Whereas I might look at somebody who's like a doctor and go, I could never commit to that much school. That's much too hard for me. I'm not a very math or science-based person. Could never do it. But to that person, that was perfectly exactly what they wanted to do with their life. So looking from the outside, it might look like, oh, like that was way too hard. I would never want to do that. But each soul and each individual life is kind of unique and perfect in its own way. They say I'm still kind of going, well, we're going to get to a point, I guess. So to kind of look at somebody else's, even if it's not your own, to look at somebody else's life and go like, I don't know why they would ever plan that. Why would they ever want that? It's kind of like looking at like a doctor or a social worker or a banker and go, oh, like, what's the point of that? I would never want to do that. So why would they want to do that? Like, that's just awful. We really do choose and plan exactly what we want. Each life really is to learn. It's to learn something. We choose something we need to learn, and we come here to learn. And on the other side, they don't see it as suffering. So say, this might rub people the wrong way, but say a child dies in a tragedy or from an illness. To us as humans, it's very sad. It's tragic. It's horrific. It's painful. Half of us spend half our lives going, oh, God, please never take like my child. I just could not live through that. But on the other side, that child gets to go home. And they had planned that along with their parents, that is what they were going to learn in this life. They don't go anywhere necessarily. So, I talk about this again. They say also, again, time and space doesn't exist. So that child is not suffering without their parents. And this length of time, so say, I don't know, you're 35 and your loved one passes away, your child or your spouse or your sibling or your parent, and you now have to live, 50, 60 years without that person. On the other side, that doesn't exist. So you don't have to live at all without that person because your higher self is on the other side. I guess I'm trying to make it make sense in a human way that each life really is just a lesson, something to be learned. And you learn a lot more when the lessons are hard. If all of your lessons are easy, you learn exactly already what you know on the other side. You learn love, you learn happiness, acceptance, all of those things. And yes, we will occasionally plan lives with all of those things in them. And only those things, because at times our soul might need a break, or maybe we want to see what it's like to live how we live on the other side during a human existence. So we might plan those things, but most of the time there's a lot of bumps in the road, and there's a lot of things that as a human we go like, God, I wish that wouldn't have happened. Like, this is just awful. Why do I continuously go through the same thing over and over again? Why do I continuously get hurt by a loved one over and over again? And it's because you've chosen that as a lesson. How to become strong, how to speak up for yourself might be your lesson. How to accept others' opinions without letting it affect you too much. I think that's hard to understand in this life and in this existence, that if on the other side you need to learn caregiving, and that's like the lesson you want to learn in this life, it's not caregiving as in taking care of your children. It's that probably a loved one that you know and are very close to may suffer an injury and need to actually be cared for. Or maybe you're going to care for your parents as they age. Or maybe you're going to be a nurse, and a nurse kind of in the trenches who every single day is emotionally and spiritually, mentally and physically affected by the patients that they work with. But you'll continuously be presented with opportunities to learn the lesson of caregiving or patience or whatever else it might be. I don't know if it is for all humans to understand that we plan these lives perfectly. In our minds on the other side, they are perfect in their imperfection. They are exactly what they need to be. And the things we go through, we planned and we thought out and we paid attention to, and we watched it happen to make sure we could survive it. I think that's really hard to get, because as a whole, our society kind of likes to put a lot of responsibility outside of ourselves. You know, so if we're hurting or suffering, it's because this happened to us. If we are, going through something or like an angry person, it's because that happened to us. Very, very rarely does somebody understand that actually you planned all of this. You chose these things. You chose the people in your lives. Once in a while, there'll be kind of an off person that maybe you didn't choose, but just kind of came into your life on a whim. But most of the time, you have planned everybody that you're going to know, even the ones that hurt you. And they planned that they were going to do that with you. They want me to make a bit of a distinction. So when there's kind of mass tragedies, like an earthquake or kind of a battle at war where a lot of people die, or some kind of mass like slaughter or genocide, that kind of thing, all of those people involved, say 100 people die, not all of them will have had planned, okay, I'm going to die exactly on this day doing this exact thing. They would have planned, okay, my plan is that I am going to die in war, fighting a battle kind of in this time frame, or I am going to die from, what is that? Like what else is the word for that? Anyways, an earthquake. In this kind of time frame, because as a collective, those souls will learn a ton together and be able to learn from each other as well, especially once they get to the other side, because they'll each have come from different places and all have planned the same thing. And so it's kind of like taking a specialized class on the other side in something. They've agreed that even though they may not know each other, they've all planned to kind of go through this together. So with this kind of topic, when I asked what I should talk about, a couple of people talked about destiny. Is there destiny? Do we have a destiny? To me, that sounds like very fanciful, like something magically is going to happen to us on a whim, like the universe is going to grab us and go, here you go, here is this, your life, or something that was supposed to happen to you. So in that way, I don't know if that's the perfect word I would choose, or the word that I totally think fits, but we do plan our path and we plan our life. So if you want to say that, okay, I planned, I am going to meet this man and I'm going to marry him, or this woman and I'm going to marry her, or I'm going to have this child, or this soul is meant to be in my life. In a way, I guess it is your destiny because you planned it when you were on the other side. So kind of in a way, everything you planned is your destiny. But as far as like a whimsical, the universe is going to grab you and put you in this place, I'm not sure that totally fits. I would think of it more as, rather than kind of a whimsical thing, before you lived on the other side, you went, okay, and you kind of looked at life and all of the lessons and all of the classes you could learn as like a college, whatever those are, like the lists with all the classes you could possibly take. And in those like 1,000 classes, you chose your 50 and said, I'm going to go to all of these classes and I'm going to learn all of these things, because then when I'm on the other side, it's going to bring me from this energy to this energy. And that's what you want to do. So you choose all your classes and you go, okay, I'm going to live them all, and I'm going to plan kind of time frames for all of them, and go. And you kind of push your part of your soul into that life and say, now you need to learn all of it. And then you go back to the other side when you've finished that kind of specialty in university, if that makes sense. I have a harder time. Okay. They kind of want me to explain this. So I have a harder time now explaining things in a real human way. Because the way it works with when they give me information, yes, sometimes they'll just talk, and it's in a human way. But a lot of the times, like say I'm doing a reading and the person sitting with me, I need to understand like an area of their childhood that affected them. They will flash through. I don't know how they do it. Somebody said it's like downloading information on the computer. It downloads very quickly. They'll flash through like 3 or 5 years in a matter of seconds. And somehow they get all of this knowledge into my mind so that I know everything that person went through during that time frame. And it's kind of the same when I'm doing these types of things. I just understand how it works. It just makes sense to me. So it's really hard for me to put into words what it is that they've made me understand without seeming like I'm kind of all over the place. So that's why when I'm sitting with somebody and they're asking me questions, I check with them a couple of times, like, did that make sense? Because sometimes I'm not 100% sure that the words coming out of my mouth are going to 100% make sense to everybody that's watching. But I think, kind of just to recap, is we plan our lives perfectly and exactly how we want them. And you'd have to remember that negative things don't exist on the other side. They just don't. There's no reward and punishment system. There's no looking down on somebody for something they did or didn't do in a human life. Everything is just accepted. And so the things we see as awful and horrible and suffering, they see as wonderful gifts and opportunities to learn. So you need to kind of shift your human perspective, because to them it's not suffering. To us it is. And also to them, there isn't that time frame of like you lose, I don't know, I'm sure this happens. Maybe you lose all of your family. You're in a war. Your entire family dies and only you live, and you're maybe 15. So you now have to live, and you live a long life. You live till you're 90. You now have to live that 75 years alone and trying to overcome and make peace with what happened and not blame people and be a functioning member of society. On the other side, that 75 minutes is that quick, literally that quick. So before you know it, that life is over and you're on the other side going, okay, what did I learn? And how did I learn it? And did I do it well? Or do I need to plan part of that back in so that I understand it a little better? Did I turn off in some areas or shut down a little too much? Did I invite the right things into my life after that? Literally, it's that quick. So you aren't left to suffer for 75 years because that doesn't exist. That's a human construct. They say about like half of you understand a little more what it means and half of you don't quite get it. So, hey, at least I'm talking to half of you and making it make sense. I don't know. I could probably talk about all of these topics all day. It is easier when I do have kind of a back and forth person asking me the questions because I tend to get kind of off track. Spirit does a good job of keeping me on track. But I think we all just need to be a little more accepting of the fact that we plan our lives perfectly. Nothing you are doing in this moment is wrong or off track or something you shouldn't be doing. Nothing you're going through is too much for your soul to handle or too little, or, you know, no one person is better or more. No one journey is better or more than another. On the other side, they really are all just lessons, different levels of learning, different levels of difficulty, but all of it is the same. It's all, each life is a grade in school, and we choose on the other side very lovingly to go through it and are so grateful and so thankful for every moment we spend as a human. They say the lessons we can learn in one day as a human, if time existed on the other side, would take 80 years or more as a spirit on the other side, because you cannot learn about something that does not exist, that is not available to you. Here, everything is available to us other than the other side. And as wonderful as it sounds over there, all of them crave coming here. They want to come here. They want to learn. They want to go through the things that we think no one should have to go through. So to them, it's amazing and it's perfect. And honestly, it really should be to all of us. And if we can just recognize what a gift our lives are, and how amazing it is that we get to go through this existence, that we get to stumble and fall and pick ourselves back up and learn, I think all of us would be infinitely happier and more content than we are now, because it takes away the blame. We are a very blaming existence in society, and it takes away that blame, because all of us have to own that we planned our lives just like everybody else did, and they are perfect in their imperfection. And on that note, I think that is all for today. I'm sure some people will have some more questions, because I'm not sure how well I did at answering them. If you could continue to like and comment and share these videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel. All of these things help me and encourage me moving forward, so that I'll continue to want to make more videos, so that Spirit continues to answer all of your questions. The questions are coming in a little bit slower, and so I don't even know that we would have enough to do another kind of Q&A. But if you have suggestions for more videos of just me sitting here with you, little messages from Spirit, for sure, comment below, comment on my Facebook page. And if you have questions for kind of a more lengthy Q&A, again, either with Heather or Michelle, somebody had suggested it would be nice to even see my mom come and sit and chat and answer some questions about what it was like to raise me. I don't think it was very easy. Just comment below and let me know. You all have a fabulous day, and I'll talk to you soon.